The sun was already high in the pale blue sky when the funeral procession began, casting sharp daytime shadows across polished marble and black cars that stretched like a silent river. Everything looked perfect, expensive and final. Yet in the middle of that carefully planned farewell, one ordinary man in a faded orange uniform felt his heart slam against his ribs because something was terribly wrong. The woman in the coffin was not dead, and if he stayed silent, an unimaginable tragedy would be sealed forever. Before the story unfolds further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and unexpected heroes, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to our channel Light of Kindness. Your support keeps stories like this alive. The man's name was Ryan Cole, a municipal garbage collector who had learned long ago that life rarely gave second chances to people like him. Every morning he worked under the open sky, pushing heavy carts through wealthy neighborhoods that barely noticed him. His days smelled of dust, plastic, and heat, and his nights were filled with memories he tried not to revisit. Years earlier, Ryan had been a nursing assistant, trained to read the smallest signs of life. But a cascade of bad luck, a sick mother, and mounting debts had forced him out of hospitals and into sanitation work. He never stopped noticing details, though. He noticed everything. That morning his route took him past the private memorial grounds of the Ashford estate, a vast green stretch owned by billionaire industrialist Conrad Ashford. The place buzzed with quiet activity, not grief so much as ceremony. Security guards lined the entrance. White flowers covered the lawn in heavy, deliberate symmetry. The news had said Conrad's only daughter, Morella Ashford, had passed suddenly after collapsing at a charity luncheon. The cause was described vaguely, wrapped in medical terms that sounded final and unquestionable. A closed casket funeral was planned, swift and dignified, with powerful guests already arriving. The chaos that followed was swift and intense, unfolding in the harsh honesty of daylight. Morella was rushed to a hospital, sirens slicing through the still air. The funeral guests stood frozen, whispers rippling like wind through tall grass. And Ryan, the man in the orange uniform, was left standing alone, shaking, his cart abandoned beside the road. News spread faster than any garbage truck could travel. By afternoon, headlines praised an unlikely hero, and by evening, Ryan's face appeared on every screen. Yet what the cameras did not capture was the quiet aftermath, the weight that settled into Ryan's chest as reality caught up with adrenaline. He went home to his small apartment, unsure whether he would be praised or punished, celebrated or sued. He had acted on instinct, and now the world would decide what that instinct was worth. Days passed, each one brighter than the last. Morella Ashford stabilized, then improved, waking slowly to a world that had nearly buried her alive. Doctors spoke openly about how close the mistake had been, about how rare conditions could deceive even advanced equipment. Conrad Ashford sat by his daughter's bedside under the same daylight that had once illuminated her coffin, his gratitude heavy and humbling. He requested to meet Ryan. When they finally stood face to face in a sunlit hospital corridor, there were no speeches, no rehearsed gratitude. There was only a broken man thanking another for giving him back the person he loved most. Conrad learned about Ryan's past, about his medical training abandoned for survival, about the quiet dignity with which he worked a job most people ignored. The billionaire realized something profound that day. Wealth insulated him from many things, but not from human error, and not from the need for compassion. Ryan's life began to change, not overnight, but steadily, like morning light creeping across a dark room. Conrad funded his return to healthcare, offering him a position in a new community emergency response program designed to prevent the very mistakes that nearly ended Morella's life. Ryan accepted, not because of money, but because it aligned with the promise he had silently made to himself years ago beside his mother's bed. He wanted to be someone who noticed, someone who spoke up, someone who refused to let quiet errors steal loud futures. Morella recovered fully, her days now filled with purpose sharpened by near loss. She championed reforms in medical assessments and funeral protocols, insisting on multiple confirmations and patient advocacy, especially for those without powerful families. The story that began as a near tragedy became a movement, all because one overlooked worker trusted his instincts under a bright, unforgiving sun. As time went on, the image of Rayan in his orange uniform standing against polished marble became a symbol. Schools invited him to speak, hospitals revised procedures, people shared the story not because of the billionaire, but because of the reminder it carried. Heroes did not always wear suits or scrubs. Sometimes they wore gloves stained by work the world preferred not to see. Now, as this story draws close to its end, take a moment to think about the times you noticed something others ignored, the moments when your voice felt too small to matter. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the power hidden in ordinary people, please like, share, and engage with this video. Your support helps spread these messages of hope and humanity. Before we close, here is a special request just for you. Please comment below with the words, "I would speak up," if you believe you would have done what Ryan did that day. The sun still rises every morning over city streets and quiet estates alike, casting the same light on billionaires and garbage collectors, on coffins and second chances. And somewhere, someone is noticing something small, something important, something that might save a life simply because they refuse to look away.